this moment, face into the wind. Northern places we may meet again.
And all the students got to go onto the icebergs that were stuck on land, and it's just like students on ice, and everyone was just so in awe about it because like I was so used to that, right? That's my life. Seeing other people just so happy just to stand on a big piece of ice, I fed off that energy and I could see what it meant to a lot of people. And just like, I probably live a pretty cool life. It's like, it just made me think about other people's perspectives from people from all around the world.
That's Michael Milton. Michael joined us as a 16-year-old from Pond Inlet, Nunavut, on our 2012 Students on Ice Arctic expedition. Today, at 29 years old, Michael works for Ikaarvik, a nonprofit empowering Inuit youth to connect northern communities with southern researchers. There, Michael acts as an advocate for Inuit-led research and ensures studies address northern community priorities. When asked why research in Nunavut should be done with or by Inuit, Michael replied, "Because we know our land better." Michael has also trained and worked with Parks Canada, Adventure Canada, helping in Arctic cruise tourism and in marine security sectors. In his personal life, Michael emphasizes the value of perseverance, overcoming challenges, and prioritizes mental health through reading and physical activity. I am really thrilled to have Michael as our guest today on our new podcast, Greatest Classroom on Earth. 25 years of Students on Ice inspiring youth at the ends of the earth. Hi, I'm Geoff Green, the founder and expedition leader of Students on Ice. In 1999, an idea was born. Imagine if we could bring youth at the beginning of their lives on educational expeditions to the polar regions, two cornerstones of the global ecosystem and windows to the world, and how that inspiring experience might shape their perspectives and even their futures.
Good morning, Students on Ice. It's going to be a great day.
In December of 2000, we made our maiden ship voyage, bringing a group of youth on a journey to Antarctica. An incredible journey of discovery, connection, and learning in what we would later call the greatest classroom on Earth. It's hard to believe, but Students on Ice is now in its 25th year. Since that first expedition, we've taken more than 4,000 students to the Arctic and the Antarctic, together with teams of educators, elders, artists, researchers, and leaders from over 55 countries. Our mission to connect youth to nature, culture, environmental leadership and stewardship, and even to themselves has remained steady in this changing world. We now have a global network of incredible alumni doing incredible things. This podcast is part of a year-long celebration of Students on Ice, a chance to reflect on the experiences, the connections, and impacts through conversations with the people who were there, getting their stories in their own words. Michael, welcome to the Greatest Classroom on Earth podcast. Ulakut.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Geoff. It's really it's really exciting to be here.
It's great to see you again because we saw each other recently, didn't we, in Ottawa, just before the holidays at the Arctic-Net conference. And you were there giving a presentation about the work that you're doing these days. And I'm going to come back because I want to ask you about that presentation and what you're doing. But when we met, your energy and your enthusiasm was infectious, I have to say. And that's when we talked about you joining our new podcast, and here we are. You're joining us from Pond Inlet, Nunavut, and I understand that you are joining us from the community center, and that some elders are going to be meeting up there soon, so we might have some elders joining this call. Can you describe for those listening, Michael, just what the weather's like today in Pond Inlet, and maybe tell us a little bit about your hometown?
So Pond Inlet is one of the most northern communities in Baffin Island, which is the largest island in Canada, and we're right next to Arctic Bay and a little further north than Clyde River. So we have an island right in front of us, which is on the northern side. It's Bylot Island, which is a bird sanctuary protected by Parks Canada. And Pond Inlet is also known to be the gateway to the Northwest Passage, as we get the most cruise ships out of any other community in Nunavut. They go to Pond Inlet to go through the Northwest Passage, and there's a lot of history. It's incredible. And today, I think we are at this morning. It was a very warm -32. I believe. So just last week we were hitting -49, -52, I think was the coldest that we had. It was just last week.
So none of us here can complain when it's -20.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I find that like dry cold and humid cold I react differently, because I find that when I'm down south in -22, -23, I feel way colder than I would here at -40, -50, right? It's just a different kind of cold. So you're allowed to be excused for feeling really cold.
Thank you.
At -20.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend. And Pond, I mean, Students on Ice has visited Pond many times over the past 25 years, and we're so proud to have so many Students on Ice alumni from Pond Inlet, and I'm sure you know most of them. But it's such a beautiful place, great community. That view that you've probably looked out at it your whole life across to Bylot Island is quite spectacular.
I grew up just like, oh, cool, pretty mountains. Just like took it for granted my whole life, and then I move away from home, and then come back, and I just felt a sense of actual like, oh my God, this is actually really beautiful. So me leaving home for a couple of months, even just a number of years, really deepened my respect and love for the community I grew up in. And it's just it's a blessing to be able to see it every day, especially now with the sun slowly rising from like 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. The light is just coming up and getting bigger and brighter every day, and the scene is just magnificent. I couldn't ask for anything more.
11 till 2 is this when you've got sunlight right now. That'll be
Right
hard
now,
for
yeah.
a lot of people to process. But of course, in the north, that is a reality. I don't think I've ever told you this, Michael, but my first visit to Pond Inlet was in 1994.
94.
Pond Inlet was still part of the Northwest Territories at the time. This was before Nunavut was created.
A year before I was born,
And
actually.
before you were, exactly, before you were born. So yeah, before we get to your Students on Ice story, I'd love to know a bit more about your early days and what it was like growing up in Nunavut. What were you like as a kid?
I think I was pretty spirited. I don't know. I had a lot of energy. I got into trouble way too many times. I had a bunch of bruises and cuts just from accidents like biking, hanging out with friends, playing outside all the time. And I also grew up with growing up hunting and camping, setting up fox traps with my grandfather and going to his cabin 3 hours snowmobile ride outside of Pond Inlet, and waiting in seal holes, just like in the middle of the ice, like waiting for seals to pop up. You got to sit real still, and you could just tell how energetic I am because I couldn't really stay still for too long.
So you probably weren't good at catching seals?
No. Actually, the funny story. I've only ever had 2 seals pop up to me my whole life, and I missed both chances. The very first time I froze, I was so scared, and I remember what my parents told me to do when I was at the seal holes, and one thing just clicked because I was terrified, right? It was my very first time seeing a live seal up close when it came out of the hole. It was just like, stay still.
Yeah.
And so I just froze until it went away, and then I just told them about it, and they just all laughed
You
at
forgot
me.
the
No,
second part, that when it
Yeah.
does come up, you have to
Yeah.
do something.
And then I actually caught my very first seal last summer, 2024. I went out with my cousin, my aunt, and my uncle, and I caught my very first seal ever with a rifle. And it's just a very, like, you're never too young, you're never too old to go out hunting and to have your first catch, because I've waited tens, if not at minimum 100 hours on those holes, and I never really got lucky. Whereas my little brother, he got his first seal when he was 5 years old. So it's very different, but it doesn't make you any less or any more of an Inuit. This is where I grew up, and I've spent my time out there just as much as anyone else, and it's just and community members understand that. So like it's really like you shouldn't put someone down for being for not catching anything when you're determined to prove yourself, to go out and actually try.
Right.
You're always given that credit, and I'm really thankful for the family and the friends that I have for helping me with that. I've never given up, and I finally caught my very first seal just last summer.
Congrats, buddy. That's awesome. So I want to come back to that in a sec, but how did you hear about Students on Ice and get involved? And I know you received a scholarship from the Ikaarvik Association to join. And I just want to give a shout out to the Ikaarvik Association, because they have been such an incredible supporter and partner of Students on Ice since the very beginning, like back in 2000. So,
Really?
So thanks, Ikaarvik Association. But tell me about how you got involved.
So in school, I was in high school, and I was 15 at the time, and I was, again, always eager to learn, energetic, just loud. And the student support teacher, actually, she was a huge help, Tessa Lockheed. I think, I don't know if I'm saying her last name correctly, but she's an incredible person. She still does education, well, in daycare sector now, in Nunavut. But her and her husband were teachers, and she asked around who would be a good fit for Students on Ice, and she told me all about the program, and she told me she would help me, because again, I wasn't really good at English. Like, English is my second language, right? So she just told me, and I wasn't good at computers either, because I never really had one, and this was the early days. So so she told me, when I ask you a question, answer, and I will type it down, and I will ask you some questions again about what do you mean, and and she just went with me step by step. We probably spent a couple hours with the Students on Ice application, and then we spent another hour or two on the Ikaarvik application, and she got us the passport application process down, and we got our pictures. She personally went down, had our applications, went down to Ottawa and gave it to the Nunavut representative to make sure it goes faster and easier. And once she got our passports done and ready, she personally mailed them to us so we could receive it. This is after we got, like, it was all almost like basically thanks to her. And she helped several other students like that, but it was me, Imanui, and Tyson, Imanui Makta and Tyson Alnat that got accepted. The three of us, we were just like so happy, and because we weren't gonna go alone, right? Like, we were just really we were just so happy to go together. We'll have familiar friends who we'll make new friends, but it was a real good experience just to have that help. But it's basically because of Tessa that we got to go.
Well, let's have a big thank you to Tessa. Hopefully she's listening to this. The power of amazing teachers in our lives is quite something. I'm so glad that, and so you got accepted, and away we went on that amazing journey in 2012. In fact, you were featured in a Canadian Geographic magazine article about that expedition, and I just wanted to help you maybe remember about it. I wanted to share a quote from you and a blurb from that article. You said, "I don't want to mingle." And apparently you buried your face in your hands, and your cheeks turned bright pink when it was time for you to introduce yourself to the group on the first day. For some, making new friends is as simple as playing a card game together. For others, like Michael, coming out of their shells took a bit longer. Clearly, you've overcome your shyness now, but what memories does that stir up for you?
Honestly, I think those are forgotten memories, and they're rushing back right now. It's just like, I think it was more embarrassment that I felt. It was like shyness, and yeah, no, I'm remembering those, and I've never really stood in front of a huge crowd like that before. It's a huge group of people, and especially like I'm used to Inuit, right? Growing up, it's always been Inuit, and to have non-Inuit
And speaking your first language,
yeah,
Inuktitut.
yeah, Inuit-led, like we have teachers and other government workers and stuff that come into town that are white and speak English, so I knew enough to speak, but in a huge room of unfamiliar people, I just like...
Who's that Geoff Green guy blabbing away up there on the stage? So that expedition, eventually we started in Iqaluit, and it went to Greenland. But what was the experience like for you?
An eye-opening experience, I want to say. It taught me a lot. Like, there's so many lessons I learned from that trip. It's just incredible to be open to meet new people. There's people from all over the world that live different lives. In a lot of cases, people that are there because they share similar interests with you. And for me, being on that ship opened up like a career goal that I wanted was to work on ships. And thankfully, I managed to get those opportunities now that I'm almost 30 this year. But like I've done it a few times now, and to be learning about the Arctic, doing research and all the science behind it, and it's just like so many different things clicked on that trip alone, that like I was just a young kid from a small community that didn't know any better, but given the chance, I was exposed to so many amazing things, and something I could achieve that's not on TV, that didn't feel real, but like it was real. Going to Greenland, honestly, just experiencing the day at sea, from coming from Nunavut, going to Greenland, is just like the up and down, and then like there's people that work on the ship that have to endure this all the time sometimes, and it's just like that's a memory that sticks. And yeah, no, there's so many lessons from Mike. I forgot his last name, but he was someone that I was talking to a lot.
Mike
and he gave
Jensen.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw him last summer, and I swore one day that I was gonna see him again, and thank him for all the lessons. Like, he talked to me.
I just saw him 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., of all places.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we were there because a Students on Ice alumni, Don Walsh, was having a U.S. Navy ship named after him. So we went down to celebrate that. But Michael, that expedition didn't quite start off as we had planned, if you recall, in Iqaluit, did it? We were talking about this with actually somebody else on your expedition, Malaika Vaz from India.
Yeah, I remember her.
What happened? Like, we had a bit of a challenge at the beginning.
The ice, there was way too much broken up ice, and the Ikaarvik Ayafe couldn't go in, and we had help from the Canadian Coast Guard. Just like, they were out there, but we couldn't really go out there. I remember that experience. It was just so cool to have. It was going to be a surreal experience nonetheless, but to have that happen to us. But I think it was really cool because we got to do a bunch of just out of nowhere, last minute assigned activities that I believe were really, really fun, because I remember with Eric Matson, and we studied the currents and like how to do the water quality testing. And funnily enough, with my very first job doing research, I was a research assistant to the water quality research project here in Pond Inlet that was led by an Inuit that's from Pond Inlet. And it was, again, it all just goes back full circle. And no, that trip was tremendous for me. You have no idea what that trip did to me.
I'm so happy to hear that, Michael. And yes, we've definitely proved how flexibility is the key to get that journey off the ground. I think we ate a lot of chicken fingers and French fries until we could finally get out to the ship and set sail. But away we went, and it was this really special journey. Amongst all those experiences that you had and places we went and things I mean, what's interesting, Michael, like a lot of the kids at the time were kids like you. When they come, they're from other parts of the world. They've never been to the north before. We were in your homeland, yet still it was a unique experience for you to see. Maybe it's to see the north through a different lens, and maybe seeing it through other people's eyes. Like, yeah, what goes through your mind when I sort of touch on that?
I actually have a few examples. I remember it was one of the days in Ikaarvik where it was low tide, and Ikaarvik low tide is incredible, as you know. Like, it's just the beach just grows 100 feet or something, and all the students got to go onto the icebergs that were stuck on land, and it's just like and it is just like students on ice, and everyone was just so in awe about it because like I was so used to that, right? That's my life. But it's just like seeing other people just so happy just to stand on a big piece of ice. It's just like, oh my God, it's just like I fed off that energy, and I could see what it meant to a lot of people. And it's just like, I probably live a pretty cool life if this is really exciting for them and this is normal for me. Like, what's going on? Like, how come I didn't know this before? It just like it just made me think about other people's perspectives from people from all around the world, right? So that is one great example. And then going to Greenland was another thing. Funny story. I actually after 13 years, I went back to Qaqatassuaq, because that was the first place we went to in Greenland. From Qikiqtarjuaq to Qaqatassuaq, we did the same. I actually did the trip again with Swan Hellenic just last summer, and it was a really good reunion for me to do that back to back. Qikiqtarjuaq, Davis Strait, and then Qaqatassuaq right after, and it was just like it made me reminisce about the incredible memories from students on ice, and just being able to go back there years later as an adult.
Well, but you were still, I mean, so close but so far, aren't they? Those two communities, separated by the Davis Strait. But like when you were 16, really, you were an ambassador for the North, for your home, and a teacher. And now you've really taken on that role in so many ways, like working with tourists on vessels, and that's so cool. I'm so proud of you, Michael, for everything that you've been doing. And one more thing on that journey, I'm imagining you made a lot of friendships on that journey. And do you still keep in touch with some of the alumni?
I have seen a few since then, but I don't really keep in touch with a lot of people. And also the Facebook, I had a Facebook account before it got taken out, and I got a new one just because of a lost password, and also the email was an older one. I got a new one afterwards, and it's just like it was a whole thing. It was just lost.
Well, I'm sure you're going to probably be hearing from a few of those alumni when they hear this interview, and hopefully that'll help you reconnect with them. And it sounds like you learned a little bit about yourself as a young person back then. And how do you think that has carried forward to what you're doing today?
I think it definitely planted a seed. I think is the best way to describe it, is planting a seed from then. And then me going back to school and going back to normal life and talking about all the cool things I've seen, all the cool things I've done, and then it's just like something I would definitely want to do, but I don't know how to achieve it. But again, the teachers were incredible, and it just sort of got lost around the way, and then but I always seized opportunities whenever they showed up. So I just kept putting myself out there, and so I got a job at the municipal government, the Hamlet office here in Pond Inlet, and I was able to be the marine facility security officer, so I'd have to be at the beach for every cruise ships that land in Pond Inlet. So I talked to the expedition team and the people that talking to parks and I was given the opportunity to train with Adventure Canada under Parks Canada, Adventure Canada collaboration program, and just kept talking to people, kept talking about what I want to do, and then being given that chance and showing what I'm capable of. And I might mess up here and there. I might be a little slow on the learning, but like I truly love what those experiences have given me, and I want to keep pursuing those things. And so I just dip my toes everywhere and seize every opportunity that's available to me. And also with Ikaarvik, so I guess jumping a little bit ahead.
So
but
let's go there, because that's when I saw you at the Arctic-Net conference. You were not only presenting, but you were there representing Ikaarvik. So tell us about that journey and what you're doing today.
In 2015, or sorry, maybe even earlier than that, quick backstory for Ikaarvik. It was an ETP, an environmental technology program that's offered by the Nunavut Arctic College here in Nunavut. Has always been in Ikaarvik, but it was finally offered in Pond Inlet because there was a petition, and there was a bunch of students or a bunch of local community members that would want to take the program but don't want to leave their families in Pond to go down south to learn.
Because that's a bit of a journey, isn't it? Like Pond Inlet, you can't get there by road. You have to fly.
Yeah, and it's expensive. The instructor for ETP saw what it was like, and there was Baffinland iron mine happening around that time as well. So a few of the ETP students decided afterwards that they want to build Ikaarvik, a bridge that is local community members with Southerners, scientists and researchers that would work together to create meaningfully engaged research led by Inuit to train Inuit on how to do the different methods, the methodology of research that happens up here, to incorporate Inuit knowledge, to teach Southerners and researchers what ethical research is and how to work best with the community, how to not look like, sorry for the language, but an asshole when in most cases Inuit do not have a great relationship with researchers because they come up, extract knowledge, and then go away, and a lot of people will not know what that knowledge is used for. Like in terms of like medical research, horrible. Social research, they're not the greatest, and it's just I think exploitation of Inuit workforce has just been not the greatest in our history. So this is us taking a stand to make friends and to build a relationship, to build that bridge, right? And so they got funding to do a workshop in Pond Inlet and in Cambridge Bay and in Johaven, and I think in Kugluktuk as well. Pond Inlet was the first one, and I was my cousin Justin Milton. He was also there, and he was
Students on Ice alumni. Shout out to Justin.
and he was just 15 years old at the time. I was 19. We both joined that workshop, and we fell in love, and we came up with the term PsyQ, like science combined with Inuit Kauimayetokami, which is like Inuit traditional knowledge, right? So using PsyQ as a method is like this product, this tool that as a guide to help many researchers that want to come up but don't know how to interact, don't know how to approach Inuit communities or organizations on like what is the best way to do research. And Ikaarvik, year after year at Arctic-Net, has held a half-day workshop or an afternoon workshop where a bunch of early career researchers or students would be coming, and we would explain to them, or my predecessors would explain to them, what the best ways to work with Inuit is, and to be a human first, a researcher later. Like, yes, your passion for your work is probably what led you here, but who are you as an individual, and why do you actually want to be here? Why does it appeal to you, and what can you offer in terms of your life and your work? And it's like, this can't just be another job for you if you're going all the way up.
It can't be just a take. It's got to be give and take, and really establishing trust and relationships, isn't it? And friendships, hopefully, as well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's obviously something that is a no-brainer and needed, and so great that you are really in the heart of that. And I think we should probably give a big shout out to a couple of friends of ours that were part of your journey, like Shelley.
Yeah, Shelley Alvarum, Eric Solomon,
Eric.
Andrew Aure, yeah, Justin again, Jonathan Pitira, just I don't know. There's so many people, and I'm just like those are the first that popped into mind.
Well,
Oh, Ina Mukta is another huge influence. She was a mentor and a great friend to Ikaarvik, and she also works for Parks Canada right now, and as well as Justin. So,
what are just a couple of examples of the type of research that you are working on, involved in?
when I was just part of the youth cohort with Ikaarvik, we were part of a project with shipping maps. So there was a proposal to have icebreakers go through the ice in between Bylot Island and Pond Inlet, and so that they could have iron ore go through all year round. And there was this project that talked about the cultural relevance of the ice and the importance of it. The ice is our farm. The ice is our highway during the winter months. It's how we hunt. It's how we survive, and it's how we live. It's part of our culture. And interviewing a bunch of elders, having focus groups, and using the results from that workshop, from that research, helped to give. I think NERB or the Nunavut Wildlife Impact Review Board, or whichever one, the paper that they needed to confidently say, no, you can't do that.
Right.
And so there was what else is there? There's so many. But currently, I'm working with Dr. Jackie Dawson. She actually did do the shipping maps, and there's lots of shipping stuff here in Pond Inlet. So a whole bunch of those. There's other workshops, but we've facilitated and helped with many different types of workshops. The one big one I really want to mention is the maps you see like behind me.
Yeah.
These were actually made. A lot of the information is from various different research projects. And a lot of it is like public knowledge from Inuit Heritage Trust as well. But this map was made by the current youth cohort with the information they wanted to see. And when we presented this to the elders at here at the Natina Visitor Center during their Elders Tea program,
What did the elders think?
they were like, "Wow, it's awesome. It's great." And when we asked them what else should we put in it, and after they gave us compliments and great feedback, they're like, "We don't need to put anything in it. We're not going to use it. We've had our time. We have our maps. This is for you guys. What do you want in it?"
Right.
And so it was just great feedback all the way around, and just like a sense of relief, I think, from a lot of the youth that we work with, and just like, okay, good, they like it. And it's just with a lot of what we do, I think in most part with Inuit culture, when you're one of the youngest in the room, when an elder speaks, you're taught to be quiet and listen. So in that in that way, we always try to have Inuit youth without any elders, and give let them know what's going on, what is this project, what's the goal, and what's the aim, and then what do you guys think about it. And we leave them alone for like a half hour, and then we come back and they have like this list of ideas and opinions and just so many things, and in a lot of ways makes the research better. And there's missing information, or there's new ways to look at it. And then once we have all of those done, we would bring it to a group of elders, a group of local hunters, and they would give their feedback, either good or what else can there be done. Like it just adds some more. Once we get good enough feedback and we're confident, in most cases we usually are, like we always get great feedback, and we can proudly present what we've done. And this map is actually one of the best examples of that, because we've done whaling history. We saw there was old pictures from the Pond Inlet area that were not documented what years, and so we held a workshop and how can we approach the community with this. And so we did that, and we got a lot of conversations going, and it was just an incredible day and a half to hear stories of those areas, of those people, and it's just awesome.
That must be so meaningful for you to be able to learn from those elders, but it's also, I'm sure, incredibly meaningful to the elders as well, to be asked to contribute, to share their knowledge, and know that next generation, you are listening and want to learn. It's something I think society needs more of. We don't value that knowledge and as much as we should all over the world, but you are doing that in the north, in Nunavut, and I commend you. And as a young person in the north, I mean, it's often been said that Inuit youth are bridging the past and the present and even the future between traditional ways of life and this changing world, this increasingly digital world. Like, you are really in a unique spot. How have you dealt with that, and what do you see as the biggest challenges facing Inuit youth today?
I'm so happy you asked this question. Honestly, I was actually leading up to that, so I'm really thankful that you asked this, Adis. So, because it's true, right? Before, in the north, we were a little late on the advancing technology front. Like, we only finally got internet. It was like proper high-speed internet when Starlink became available up north. So we would have like the slowest connection. We might have a few hiccups here and there, but it would be almost impossible to have this virtual meeting between you and me.
I remember you just have to fax people's applications from Pond Inlet, or,
Exactly.
We've forgotten what faxes are, but continue.
I think Inuit are in a very unique space, especially people my age and younger, and maybe a little older than me, because Inuit way of life has changed dramatically the past 100 years, compared the past 50 years, compared to most other I want to say races, but I also want to say societies. Yeah, that's a good word for it. I don't know. Thank you. And we've had to adapt very, very quickly, and with a lot of our elders passing away, and a lot of new people, a lot of young people being born and growing up in this day and age, and like with the age of YouTube, Facebook, all these social medias and handheld phones, where it's like it's so different, and to truly hold like onto the culture that we've had of sharing, of giving, of being open-minded, of caring for the land and going out hunting, and like the values that we've learned from all those things, to be respectful, to help each other. And I think as a young kid growing up till now, and that massive shift, that massive change, I think it's like that for literally everyone around my age and your age too, probably even more so for you, because like you've been through it all. You've had that change.
Easy does it there.
Yes, I know. But like I was born, so I basically essentially started like my living memory of life in the 2000s, right? It's been the past 25 years for me.
It's a remarkable change what you and your grandparents have gone through.
From a small community into like now growing with cruise ships and people from all over the world wanting to see what the Arctic is like, what the Franklin expedition did, and all these new ideas, this knowledge of all this information, all these opportunities, all these possibilities that were unknown to us, and like to have grown up before internet, out on the land, and to be in a small community. And now to this technological age, I feel like it's been like that for years, but like for us, it's still very fresh, still very new, and that change is really, really hard on some of us, and it just there's like quiet conversations where it's really hard to speak up about what you're actually feeling. Like for a lot of people, like that misunderstanding uh, of like how do we talk to each other when we don't know what's going on, and how do we talk about the information being dealt with when it's like the old way of thinking doesn't always match up with the new way of thinking. Everything is so different, and it's like the world and the climate is changing dramatically. Like
Yeah.
it's wild.
To go through those changes too, Michael, in a remote community where you don't have the infrastructure that you really need or should have, from housing to food security to even educational opportunities. I mean, I think there are changes coming there and happening, but that's, I mean, you have embodied resilience that is so characterized by Arctic communities. But that's shaped you, Liz. You're a pretty resilient dude, I have to say.
Thank you.
But
I think the key to all that is like laughter and friendship and humility, you know? Like I've been in trouble so many times where and I finally learned my mistakes after the 10th try, right? But to joke about it, to understand each other, to not be too harsh on each other, and just finding ways to kill time, to learn, to just enjoy life for what it is, and to go through those hardships together as well. And I think having each other's backs and knowing there's a better tomorrow, as long as we work towards that end goal that you want, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your friends, for the whole community. And I think that's been one of the biggest driving forces in my life to have kept it, like to be here till now, like to today, right? I get to talk to you again after how many years, and it's been incredible. I'm so thankful.
Hey.
And just like,
I'm the thankful one. You're an amazing young man, Michael, and Nunavut, Pond Inlet, Inuit are so lucky. You're a young leader with so much ahead of you. Just on that note, as we get close to wrapping up here, what are your plans and goals in the next few years?
So I've told myself this after getting the opportunity to be on cruise ships is, it's my ultimate dream summer job. I want to be able to go on one ship for like one leg minimum and maybe a month or two maximum, but
Including students on ice, of course.
I really hope so. Like
Just gotta
to go for full circle, and
Yeah.
like to have my life changed by students on ice, and to be able to go back as a mentor and to help and uh, to show other Inuit and to show other people from all around the world that like this is really cool, and there's so much to learn out in the world. And
We are going to make that happen.
oh my God, sorry, it's just like it's just excitement bursting. And
But beyond
I really-
the summer shipping experiences, what else is going on?
So another big thing for me, it has been Ikaarvik, like I mentioned before. Since 2015, I've been a youth cohort, and Ikaarvik has been a huge thing in my life as well as Students on Ice, because it's like it brought me to the research world, and it helped inspire me to give me the opportunities I didn't know I had as well as Students on Ice did. And Ikaarvik's a huge thing for me, and it's been slowly. It's like the work's been heavy, but sorry, excuse me for a second. Kuya
Atok si Mangi.
Oh, okay.
The elders are arriving.
Yeah.
Don't worry, let them in. You know, on the Ikaarvik thing, Michael, and I'm wondering, we didn't touch on this yet, but climate change, rising temperatures in your backyard are obviously a huge thing that's threatening so much the ways of life. And is that an area that your research is looking at?
Yes. So with Ikaarvik, I really want to first and foremost build our foundation. We need to hire more Inuit. We need to hire more people at Ikaarvik to spread out, because Ikaarvik's in high demand, and the work we've done is very important. We have a bunch of friends, but we don't have the money, the resources, the infrastructure to, like, I am in the former gift shop of the Nunavut Visitor Center. This is my
That's your
office right
office.
now. Yeah.
Well, at least it's a former gift shop. You're not crowded out
Yeah.
by carvings.
Yes, Ikaarvik is doing. Ikaarvik is a part of several different projects, so we lend a helping hand, and we're stretched out pretty thin. So I really want to. I'm going to be working with the board to get to hire an executive director, to get the funds necessary to hire more Inuit, to hire more people, more staff, to build that bridge, and get the funds and resources to, and with other communications and work with other organizations, to what we can do, how we can train others, and just to overall extend our reach, and to show more Inuit and inspire them that research is not this vague career goal. Research is a way of life. Research is a way Inuit have survived up in the Arctic for generations. Research is the way we're alive today. We learn so much because we learn and we learn again. We try different things, and with climate change, we're already noticing the ice is breaking up later in the season. The ice is forming later in the season. The people were out boating in December. That is the strangest thing I've ever heard in my life, but I saw it my firsthand.
Wow.
My cousin, December 1, he went out on his boat just so he could say, like, I went seal hunting.
That's
I'm out
insane.
boating in December. Like, it's just, that's ridiculous, right?
That is ridiculous. I remember we used to go to the flow edge late June, July,
Yeah.
and you can't do that anymore. So the work you're doing, I think the funders that might be listening to this today, here is a great way. Here's a place you should be supporting and putting your money, because that research you're doing is not just good for your community, it's important for the entire planet.
So Ikaarvik, it means bridge, and it's spelled Ikaarvik.
Nice plug.
Yeah, Ikaarvik.org.
Ikaarvik, sweet. Well, Michael, amazing. As we started off the beginning of this interview, it's not really an interview, it's just a great discussion. We could talk for hours.
No, yeah, we could easily.
And we will eventually. But I just want to thank you, Michael, not just for everything you're doing, but Ikaarvik for joining today on the Greatest Classroom on Earth podcast. Are there any final things you'd like to share?
Nothing is impossible. When you're ever going to the Arctic, be a human first. What brought you here? Why are you here? And what kind of impact do you want to leave? And look at yourself and look what you've done. What can you do to make yourself and the people around you live better lives, and work towards that goal, not just alone, but with help, because we always need that. And also, feel the cold, brisk air of the Arctic. If you ever get the chance, take it. Just seize every opportunity and live your best life. This is a lot of the words I say to younger people. Just learn as much as you can, seize every opportunity, and if you have to say no, make sure it's a good reason. Just, if you're scared to do it anyway. It's gonna get easier when you do it the 10th time, because everything's scary, and it's always gonna be scary unless you do something about
And
it.
embrace those opportunities when they come along.
Yes.
Because you never know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, no, it's like Students on Ice and Ikaarvik brought me to this very room, to this very spot, and to this very moment, and I wouldn't be able to be here without all the help, the support, the friendships and relationships I've made along the way, and I'm just really grateful to be here, and I hope to work hard and make more friendships and do more things, and just like create a pathway for more youth to have similar experiences that I've done, and to leave a legacy of just, we're cool people, even if you know it or not. You got to set that example to others.
You're doing it right now. Thanks again. We'll talk soon. We'll be in touch. Hopefully see you again in the near future. Ikaarvik, thanks, buddy. I love it.
Thank you so much.
To get another perspective on that 2012 Arctic expedition that Michael was a part of, listen to our recent podcast episode with Malika Vaz, as we talked about earlier, if you haven't already. And thanks to the wonderful Sarah Harmer for our theme song, which is Lancaster Sound, now known as Talarutu Imanga, which is in Michael's backyard. And if you enjoy this podcast, please give us a review and a rating where you listen. And share a link of the episode with friends and family. It's the best way to make sure that this conversation and others reach as wide an audience as possible. To learn more about Students on Ice, go to studentsonice.com or soifoundation.org and give us a follow on social media. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Geoff Green on the greatest classroom on earth.
Feel this moment facing